While Destroyer would ultimately find success thanks to Beth, the record stalling after initial sales combined with fan backlash scared Kiss. It was decided that they needed to go back to basics and cut a straight-ahead rock and roll record. Because Alive was so good, the band finally decided to hire Eddie Kramer to produce a studio record. Rock and Roll Over was released on November 11th, 1976.
In the morning I raise my head.
This cool opener was written by Paul Stanley. It starts with a quiet acoustic intro before exploding into the proper song, a trick Paul used often. Ace Frehley's leads are great throughout the song, although interestingly, Paul plays the first half of the guitar solo before Ace takes over. Paul said, "I wrote I Want You at a sound check on stage in England when we were on our first tour there. There was something about being on some of those stages that just felt so magical because my heroes all played on them. We'd be on some stage and they'd say, the Beatles were on this stage or Zeppelin was on this stage, and you kind of summon the spirits to enter your body. I Want You came at that point." In terms of production, the album sounds great. It was recorded live at the Star Theater in New York, giving it sort of a live feel. In regards to whether I prefer what Ezrin did with Destroyer or what Kramer does here, they're different things. What Ezrin did was perfect for the songs on Destroyer, and what Kramer does on this record is what's best for these songs. They're both great. Kramer said, by the time Kiss came to record Rock and Roll Over, they had really improved their playing skills. They'd done the live record and Destroyer. It was time for them to cut loose and show what they could do as players. That was my philosophy with the Rock and Roll Over album. This was Kiss playing good, rootsy rock and roll. However, Paul disagrees. He said, "One thing we hoped Eddie could fix was our drum sound. After all, he'd been part of getting that big drum sound Zeppelin had. He had Peter set up in the theater itself while we played in a studio elsewhere in the building. We linked Peter in by video camera. In theory, even a chimpanzee beating on pots and pans could sound thunderous in the right environment. But still the drums sounded tinny. Soon, however, I came to the conclusion that in Zeppelin's case, John Bonham was that sound, and Peter Criss would never be John Bonham." I don't think that's entirely fair, but Paul is entitled to his opinion. It's his band. I think the record sounds great, and I think a lot of fans would say that it's their best sounding record. Written by Paul and Sean Delaney, this is a cool song. I like a lot of the guitars on it, and the pre-chorus is really fun. Paul said, "Take Me had a great attitude. I was really in my glory at that point. I'm this big rock star, getting laid all the time, all this adulation. It was just about the glory of being alive." Written by Gene Simmons, this is of course one of the band's signature songs, and it's great. The riff is simple but cool, the lyrics are just the right amount of sleaze, and it's one of Ace's best solos. He said, "I like the Dr. Love guitar solo. If I was doing a solo for a song that Gene wrote, like Dr. Love, a lot of times he would give me ideas or sing me a melody. He might say, 'Why don't you try this idea?' or refer to a solo I had done in an earlier record. He'd give me ideas if I was stumped." Written by Gene, this is an underrated classic and one of my favorites. They stopped playing it live in the 70s, and that's a mistake, because this is a great fucking song. Gene said, "Ladies' Room was written in a rehearsal studio. It's about a girl that you meet in a restaurant and you have nowhere to go, and I say, 'Hey, I'll meet you in the ladies' room.'" Written by Peter and Stan Penridge, this is Peter's first vocal track on the record. It's also my least favorite song, but it's cool. There's a lot of great guitar work. Ace is excellent on this track. Penridge said, "Baby Driver was written while Peter, Mike Benvenga, and I were in Lips. Baby Driver is about Mike. It was a joke song. Baby Driver was written specifically over the purchase of Mike Benvenga's Alfa Romeo Spider. Lips were working at the St. James Infirmary up in Hunter Mountain, New York. Peter and I would usually take the bus. Mike got this alpha but never told us ahead of time. But one weekend we arrived and found Mike was already there. He wasn't on the bus. And we were pissed. Probably more jealous than pissed, but Pete and I didn't play it like that. We didn't speak all weekend, just wrote little put-downs in the wizard book that eventually became enough for a tune. Paul said, Peter brought in a cassette with a disjointed sketch of a song called Baby Driver. He always brought tapes with recordings he'd done with co-writers because he couldn't play us a song any other way since he didn't play any other instruments. Peter lashed out when we worked on his songs. But the problem wasn't that Gene and I rewrote his songs. The problem was that the things Peter brought in weren't songs to begin with. The lyrics never rhymed, there weren't any delineations between verse and chorus, they were scraps, not songs. Peter said, Gene and Paul let me contribute one song to the album, but even then, they fucked around with it. My original version of Baby Driver, a song I had written with Stan Penridge, was very cool, but these pricks had to go in and change it around. I never fucked with their original songs. Later, they even had the balls to say that they rearranged the song, but didn't take credit for it so that the fans would think that everybody in the band was as creative as everybody else. Written by Gene, this is another underrated track. The band has rarely, if ever, played it live, which is a shame because it's a really great song, and Ace's leads are killer. Gene said, Love 'em and leave 'em is my philosophy. My point of view about sex has always been to never take it too seriously, and always have a lot of fun with it. Hopefully, people will understand that it's tongue-in-cheek. Written by Paul and Delaney, this song has never been performed live by the band, which kind of pisses me off because it's one of my favorite songs by the band. I think it's really cool. I love the riff, I think it's really catchy, and it's just a super fun song. Paul said, there's a whole plethora of songs that came during the time that were just about swagger, being a rock and roller, living that life, and having a great time. There are things in Mr. Speed that came naturally that I could never bring out of me today. Written by Gene, this is a fun song. I really like the call and response vocals between Gene and Paul. Written by Paul, Peter sang this song that was inspired by Rod Stewart. Paul said, Hard Luck Woman was an anomaly because I never intended it for Kiss. I didn't see songwriting as an exercise, and normally I was good at self-editing. If I didn't think a song had a place on a Kiss album, I didn't bother to finish it. But I was still fascinated by trying to figure out what made certain songs by other people tick. I had been listening to Rod Stewart's Maggie May and You Wear It Well with that in mind, and decided to try my hand at something similar. The lyrical spark came from someplace completely different, a song called Brandy by Looking Glass. That was about a sailor's daughter who worked at a bar. Once I finished the song, I couldn't imagine Kiss doing it. I planned to try to get it to Rod to see whether he wanted to record it. But with Beth doing so well that fall, Eddie Kramer and Gene both thought the song would make a logical follow-up for Kiss. And since Peter had that type of raspy voice like Rod's, we figured he should sing it. I had to record a vocal for Peter to follow, and again, he took many takes to provide enough material to cobble together a finished version. Peter said, Paul gave me the song, but while I was recording it, he stood in the studio next to Kramer from the beginning to the end, constantly talking to me over the intercom. I wanted to stab him in the forehead with a knife. Toward the end of the song, I broke away from Paul's direction and did some free-flowing soul stuff. And I think that's the best part of the song. Kramer said, Paul was playing that song and I was fascinated by it. I thought, wow, this would be excellent for the record. We've got to have that. That's a great, great song. It would be so cool for Kiss to do an acoustic song. I remember working very hard and diligently trying to get a good acoustic guitar sound and working on the structure of the song. I fucking love this song. I think it's the best song on the record. I love Peter's voice. It's great. This is a cool track written by Paul and Delaney. The highlight is the guitar. The main riff is really cool, and Ace's leads are great. For me, though, the chorus is a little weak, and some of the lyrics haven't aged well, but the musicality makes it a standout. Paul said, "It's a great song. I was such a huge Zeppelin fan. Making Love was a tip of the hat to a Whole Lotta Love. That's what I was striving for. Often I would write what came to mind, and then there were other times I would have a song in mind that I liked a lot, and I might be going for a style or a feel." Rock and Roll Over did very well. It peaked at number 11 on the US Billboard charts, with the two singles, Hard Luck Woman and Calling Dr. Love, peaking at number 15 and number 16, respectively. I love this album. There are 3 Kiss albums that are sort of tied for my favorite. Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over are 2 of them. I think all of these songs are great and the production is killer. I do think it's underappreciated when compared to Destroyer, but both are excellent rock albums. Hi! If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it. If you want to be notified about future videos, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching!